Amatakyapi. Hello, my relatives. Okay, so here I am in the portable hideaway sitting under a linden tree. I love linden trees. They're also called basswood. And the honey that bees make from the basswood is, in my estimation, the champagne of honeys. Not that I know a whole lot about champagne, because I don't drink, and I've never been a drinker. That's okay. It's a term. But anyway, what I'm going to talk to you about today is attitude and attention. As long as you're giving your attention to what you don't have, what you don't want, what you don't have and what you don't want are what you're going to have. Einstein and the laws of quantum physics have shown this is true, proven it mathematically. In short, where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, the energy of the universe is attracted. I didn't get my first horse until I was 22. And I'd been riding since I was 9, and I've been horse crazy since I was born. I think that's a Lakota woman thing. But I decided to learn to jump horses over fences. And I had a riding teacher, and she used to say, "Throw your heart over the fence and the horse will always follow." And it was true. And she put me on some horses who could jump beautifully, but boy, if you didn't pay attention, you were going to jump the fence and the horse was standing back on the other side, usually eating grass. And its body English was, "You dummy, you didn't pay attention." And she used to holler at us, "Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Throw your attention over that fence." And I learned to. Now, I've been injured from the top of my head to the bottoms of my feet, and most of those injuries have been with horses. I've found more creative ways to fall off a horse than anybody else I ever heard of. And to some limited degree, it's part of why I have life on crutches now. I earned it. I'm not complaining. I bitch bitterly about the pain, but, it's only in a couple of spots. One is on the outside of my left hip. I was riding my first horse, Sundance, so named because this horse, who had not been well cared for before I and a friend bought him, we paid $37.50 apiece to rescue him. He was in beautiful condition anyway, even though his feet were like elf shoes, and I had to cut them off with a back saw while she held him and bribed him with green grass, because he was 4 years old and he hadn't had hardly any green grass in his life, and yet here he was, fat and shiny, and he had a beautiful dappled red bay coat. Oh man, he was a pretty little fella. And he was a Mustang. He was a BLM rescue. And we bought him from the farmer who bought him and thought the kids would do something with him, and they did. The something was nothing. They put him in the pen and left him there in dry lot. Water, hay, once in a while somebody'd think to throw some grass at him, and that'd be it. But so he was green. He was just learning. And we were riding out in the pasture where I boarded him, and we came up this little hill, and at the bottom of the hill on the other side there was a pond, and there were a whole bunch of ducks swimming around in it. But what neither Sundance or I knew was that there was a duck hen nesting right at the top of the hill in the long grass. I mean, it was knee-high on him. And he stood 14 2.5 hands, so he was horse-sized by half an inch. But she flew up under his nose, whack, 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 and of course he went to the right, and I flew off to the left, and I lit on the outside of my hip on a flat rock with the entire rest of my body up in the air. And I crushed all that soft tissue. And boy, does that give me pain some days. Ugh. Wakes me up at night, makes me snarly as hell during the day. And then people will say, gee, I thought you were a nice person. And I say, well, it shows what you don't know about judging people, doesn't it? My pain counts a whole lot more than their preference for bad language or good language. So what has that got to do with my attention? Well, my attention was on ducks and Sundance, not on staying on Sundance when that duck flew up under his nose. Then later, I decided I wanted to learn dressage. Dressage is ballet with a horse and rider, and it's done generally to music. And again, I was renting a place for him, and because my people raised me that a job that's legitimate and, I don't know, doesn't violate any cultural or ethical taboos is perfectly fine for a person of dignity and quality. I cleaned bathrooms and stalls. I did any dirty job I could think of to pay his board so I could ride him in the indoor arena when the weather was bad. And I curb shopped mirrors, big ones, and put them along one end of that indoor arena. And then I read some very excellent books on dressage and did what they said, watching myself in those mirrors, because back then a video camera was huge. They weighed about 20 pounds, they were about 2 feet long, they were about 8 or 10 inches tall and 5 or 6 inches wide, and you had to have a tripod and yada yada. No, forget it. Mirrors. And my attention was focused on learning to do this skill with a different horse that I borrowed. His name was Frenessy. Frenessy was a Morgan, and he was just a darling. One day this man came to visit the barn owners, and they were watching me, and they called me and Fretters over. So we went there, and he said, "You do a beautiful job." He said, "Who is your coach?" And I told him the author of the book that I was mostly using. And he said, "But you're riding at the 4th level, the Prix de Saint-Georges, and you've taught yourself." And I said, "No, I paid attention to what the man wrote, watched myself do it in the mirrors with Frenessy, and I said, this is the result." And he offered me an opportunity to try out for the U.S. Olympic Equestrian Team, which made a lot of local riders who were just slathering themselves with goo to try to suck up to get an opportunity to try out. They were so jealous they couldn't stand it. But I turned it down. I said, no. I said, I have a business. I have half of another business. I'm married. We have a mortgage. I have a whole bunch of horses and goats and dogs that we breed and do things with. I said, no, I can't put that on hold. And he said, well, we'll get sponsors for you. And I said, and are they going to do my barn chores? Are they going to go and haul hay? Are they going to haul feed, especially when it's 20 below and the world is icy? And he said, well, and I said, that's right. But I said, it's a wonderful offer. Thank you. My attention was not getting on the Olympic equestrian team. My attention was focused on riding well enough to have a chance to. And I accomplished that. When I was little, racists told me I couldn't this and I couldn't that because I was female, I was Indian, I didn't know my place. That's another video about knowing your place. They were wrong. I proved them wrong every single time. So remember, as long as you're giving your attention to what you do not have and you do not want, what you do not have and what you do not want is what you're going to have. And as I said before, Einstein and the laws of quantum physics have proven this is true. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Keep that in mind. You can do whatever you make your mind up to do. My grandmother Pearl told me that. She said, you can have anything you want as long as you want it more than you want your next breath. Focus. We'll talk again later.